Welcome, everyone. Remain calm. The doctor is in. Thank you for tuning into this live radio broadcast on KCRW 100.7 FM in coastal Brookings, Oregon. I'm Dr. Gudrun, a.k.a. Gigi Reed. I'm a local physician. I'm sitting alongside my co-host, Jacques Kepner.
Thank you, Gudrun. Welcome to the Doc and Jacques Radio Variety Show, everyone. It is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. It's a hot day here in Brookings.
Yeah, and today is National Red Wine Day.
Red Wine Day of all days, right?
And also National
Kindness Day. Yeah, Kindness Day. It's kind of cool.
Okay.
But the National Red Wine Day, and what would you know? What did you know we have?
I know, right? We have a great guest today in the studio, and we're talking about
wine. Stop whining. Yes, indeed we do. But first, let's get this week's dose of prescriptive health notes on Doc Talks. So, Doc, what's up?
Well, today's health topic is cancer critical genes. However, before we go to this fantastically interesting subject, let's do some shout outs for people who are still sticking around to listen.
I go first.
Okay, you go first.
Tom Bozak and Ray Simon, who are listening in the engineer's booth. They're thank you as always, guys. Kelly, John and Patty. Who else?
Sherry and Chris.
Sherry and Chris, Dr. Sherry, Chris had Darwin and Peggy.
Annie and John.
Patty and John, Hoppy.
John and Patty.
Yeah.
Annie, John,
Patty.
Patty,
yeah.
Susie, my bestie in Utah.
And
Jared Grant.
Jaden and Vera.
Yeah.
And a lot of other Dave. And, Janice. Janice, I got some good jokes, wine jokes too.
All right, let's start with the cancer critical genes.
What is this all about, though?
It's so interesting. So patients ask me at times to test them for any cancer genes that they might have because they want to get ready and be preventive for those cancer occurrences. But this is easier said than done because, drumroll, there are really no cancer genes.
Wait a minute. There's no cancer genes, but people think they're
right. So, if you think, there's a skin cancer gene, so I'm just testing for it, and if I have it, I get skin cancer. So that is not how it goes. Let me explain. Many people know about the BRCA 1 and 2 genes, BRCA 1 and 2 genes, and a lot of people know these are associated with breast cancer. However, when we're testing these genes, we're actually not testing if you have those genes. We know you and I and everybody else has those genes. So that's not a surprise.
They're general genes.
They're general genes that we have. What we're testing is if those genes have a mutation or a change in any way. Mutations mean they have a different nucleotide structure or sequence or reading code in them, or the genes are truncated, or they're duplicated, or fused by mistake with another gene.
But these are not cells. These are genes.
This is the code, the genetic code in each of our cells. Now, different changes can make different change in the genetic code can make a different change in how the cell reacts.
Okay.
So this might be possible to make a cancer cell.
So back it down a little bit. Sorry, but what is a cancer cell?
A cancer cell is a cell that has forgotten how to respond to other cells' info. So, for example, it will keep dividing and growing and dividing and growing and does not stop doing that. So cancer is a growth of cells or a growth of tissue that doesn't stop when it's supposed to stop.
So when other cells bump up against other cells, that's generally an indicator for that cell to stop growing when they hit each other.
Usually that's what happens in most cells, like skin cells.
Cancer cells don't get the message. They keep gobbling up. They're super active, right?
Super active, yep. And they make their own little blood highway so they're not running out of nutrients. They just keep...
And they gobble up everything?
Yeah, all the nutrients. So they're taking away the space, living space, and nutrient space off the non-cancerous cells.
Wow, okay. We got an idea of what a cancer cell is.
Yeah, so let's take a closer look to cancer-critical genes. And those are the ones that play a significant role in development and the progression of cancer. So they're generally packed into 3 big groups.
Cancer cells are.
The
cancer genes.
The
there are
cancer
cancer
critical genes.
Okay.
Cancer critical genes. The first group are called proto-oncogene, which means I'm a pre-cancer gene. So that's what we thought of before when we found those genes. So these proto-oncogenes are perfectly fine genes that code for the mechanism for the cells to grow and divide. That's what they're there for.
So
Yeah.
they're like divas. I'm going to be a cancer cell. No, okay, forget it. Let's just go. I sort of get it. Okay.
Okay, so proto-oncogenes are genes that help the cells grow and divide.
Okay.
And there's a lot of them. They all have to go in sequence. They have to, if you talk about divas, they have to dance in sequence, and nobody can dance out of line, right? They all have to be doing their job. If they are changed now, they can become oncogenes, meaning now they are cancer genes because
That's the BCR. That's the BCR ABI. I sort of get it. Okay.
Okay. So, an example is the BCR-ABL, which is a fusion of 2 genes in the genome, which now all of a sudden it is a cancer gene that makes us make a lot of blood cells.
Wow.
And not stopping, even though we're supposed to. Or HER2/neu is one of those that is found in breast cancer. So
Okay.
HER2/neu was a normal, fantastic gene that had been mutated, and now it makes the cell being horrendously growing and not stopping at anything. So that's the first group. The second group is called the tumor suppressor genes. So that one is easier to understand. They're there to suppress any tumor formation. So they're there to tell the cells, stop growing, you have touched another cell, or we have 5,000 of you guys, so don't make a 5,000 and first one. So those are these gatekeeper genes. If they are broken or mutated or in any way changed, they could fail doing their job. And then they don't stop the cells from growing, and the cell will grow.
Is growing cell growth, cancer cell growth, kind of like known as metastasizing? What is metastasize?
Metastasized cells grow somewhere else where they are not supposed to grow. So, for example, if you have breast cancer, which is in the boobs and the breast, but it could metastasize somewhere else, like into the bones, then the cell metastasizes into the bone. So it takes up shop in the bone, which is actually a rare occurrence. And a lot of things have to go right for that cell for it to actually happen, because the breast cell is happy in the breast environment. The bone cells have a very, very different environment, and the normal breast cells wouldn't be able to live there. But because of the cells breaking down and not doing their job anymore, they now have the chance of sitting in the bones and growing there happily. Usually we actually have an immune system that stops any of those metastases grow in other in environments. So a lot of things have to go wrong for an individual to actually have metastasized cancer. Okay. Now, the last group is the DNA repair genes. We have a lot of genes that make sure that when the cell divides, duplicates and divides, that it all goes in order, and all the instructions have to be read accordingly. So it's just like if you make a copy of a book, every word has to be making the same word after a copy. If you spell a word wrong, then the whole sense is wrong. The whole sentence doesn't make any more sense. So this is what has to happen every single time a cell duplicates and divides. So if there is a mutation or a change in one of those cells that direct that, then you have mutations creeping in, which can cause the cells to become
super interesting.
So,
I got a story to tell, quick story.
Yes.
When I was diagnosed with kidney cancer 23 years ago, and I went into cancer treatment, blah, 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 and I went in with two ladies, and One had breast cancer, and the other one had, I think it was pancreatic, I think it's bladder cancer. And we were all in the same class learning about our cancers, and these girls said, we're going to do the super vitamins. We're going to gush. And they brought me a bunch of vitamins. Their regimen.
Yeah.
They were eating like 100 vitamins a day, massive
Yeah.
dose. They were both dead in 3 months. I took one dose
Well,
of vitamins.
did they not do the chemo or anything?
I don't know. What,
Yeah.
They were just dead within 3 months. I'm still here 23 years later. They were on a total vitamin flush your system. I was thinking, I always thought about that. I wonder if it was just feeding those cancer cells going, woo, we are really going to get big now because we're getting all this good stuff. They're hogging it all, right?
Yeah.
Cancer cells.
Yeah, technically, yes. I don't know if they like to eat vitamin C, but
Well, that was part of it. Changed a whole bunch of things.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you, doctor, for that. That was very interesting. Hope you understood it as much as I always like Wrangler jeans myself. The ones that stretch slightly. Those are good ones.
Well,
Levi's. So, okay. All right. Welcome, listeners, to our Venus, I suppose it was, voyage through time and taste. Today, we uncork the story of wine, a liquid that has flowed through the same veins of human history like a river of ruby and gold. Wine, much like a wizened elder, has witnessed the rise and fall of civilization. It's one of humanity's oldest companions in the realm of fermented beverages, a faithful friend that has been by our side for millennia. Like a time traveler, wine has seen empires crumble and new worlds discovered, all while resting patiently in its wooden chambers. Today, we're joined by Chuck McCall, a good friend of mine, our good friend, and a modern-day Dionysus. Dionysus? Oh, I probably mess up.
Beg your pardon.
Darn it, I'm not prepped. Whose wisdom flows as freely as the wines he'll discuss. And is wine getting better with age? Like the very bottles that we cherish? Are we witnessing a global renaissance of viticulture, with... I'm sorry, all these big words, darn it. I think I in practice, I said them perfectly. With new regions joining the grand ball of winemaking. And what of the future? Will we see vineyards one day on Mars, or perhaps AI robot recommending the perfect pairing for lab-grown meats? Anyways, in every glass of wine, dear listeners, we find not just the fruit of the vine, but the very essence of human ingenuity and passion, a testament to our endless pursuit of pleasure and making meaning in life's grand feast. Enough of my verbiage. I didn't practice that too well, did I? I apologize. But I want to introduce my friend, our friend again, Chuck McCall. Welcome to Doc and Jacques here on KCIW.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for coming in.
You've recorded some PSAs, haven't you?
I have not.
Well,
You should.
He's
You've
got
the
voice.
radio voice.
Hear that voice, guys? Okay, well, you need to come in Wednesdays between 2 and 4 every Wednesday, and you could sit down in this booth or one outside and record people's public service announcements. So Chuck is going to be on pretty soon. Wednesdays, 2 to 4. Anybody's welcome.
Being volunteered.
Lead off
Okay.
the questioning for us, Doc.
All right, the ones that you were going to say.
I forgot. After my intro,
Chuck, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Ohio, that state that I am trying to choose to forget.
Hey.
In a small city called Dayton.
Oh, small. Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Fairly small.
So what
Medium sized.
what
but
brought you here then? Because Dayton is actually pretty big. I've been there. Big enough for me
You've
to
been
be there. Yeah.
May I ask why?
After the show, I will
You've
tell
been
you.
gone for a long time, Chuck. I mean, what are we into? I don't know. I'm not going to say.
What brought you here to our coastal area?
Yeah.
Because I know you didn't go here after Dayton.
No, I've been all over the country, really. Should I list them? D.C.,
No.
New York, L.A.,
Sure.
San Francisco.
San Francisco, that's what you...
That's where you parked for a long time, right, in the city?
I was in the city for quite a while, yeah.
What did you do there?
So that's another great story.
I drove a cab
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, he's the one that instigated all these great stories
Ah.
at night.
Yeah.
at night through the city. Oh my God!
We had a taxi driver not too long ago, so
Cara?
I'm like,
Cara Patton, yeah.
Yeah, you told me about
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Years ago.
How long have you lived here?
In Brookings.
I've been here 5
Harvard.
years. 5 years now.
5 years, that's it? Not bad. I've known you for 4, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're both better off, aren't we?
Knowing each other or not being... Okay.
Hey, my questions are out of order, Doc. Okay, it's okay.
We're on page number 4. What do you like best about our region?
Yeah.
The nice, cool ocean air.
Yeah.
Which is kind of lacking today, right?
Kind of. I thought that might get a joke.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Because it even kind of was driving up here from Crescent City. It's even kind of smoggy a little bit. Or I guess there's no smog per se, but it looked like smog to me.
There's haze coming down from the fires up north.
Oh,
Oh, there are fires now?
Well, there are some still.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
I don't think they've all been extinguished yet.
If you had one wish of what our area had but does not, what would that thing be? A freeway to Medford?
That's...
Well, yeah, you read my mind. Better medical services.
What? You're talking to a doctor here. Oh, how rude.
I'm sorry, babe.
I think more a specialist. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, of course. Just so you don't have to drive 2 hours to get anything done.
Grants Pass and Medford. Okay, the big question. How did you get to know wine? Have you always been interested in wine?
Always. Well, not when I was 5.
Right.
But tell us the Cliff Notes.
I was really, as a young man, kind of searching for where I wanted to work, what I wanted to do for a career. I studied psychology,
Yeah.
and I realized going forward that I really did not want to listen to people's problems all day. I didn't want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gudrun.
So you became a taxi driver, cab seat.
Well, I kind of stumbled into it, actually. I wanted to work in a field that I really was interested in,
Psychology.
and that was not psychology. I was early on drawn to it because I'm just a student of human nature. I'm a writer type. And that was, all of that is very interesting to me. But I didn't want to pay for it with having to listen to people's problems. So I was searching for some kind of interesting subject that I could get involved in.
And that was wine?
And that was wine.
I do not see the straight connection, but that's interesting.
Oh, sometimes life is not straight.
Right. So how did you find the wine connection? What did you do?
Weren't you in D.C. when you first got your first job as a...
Actually, I had been in San Francisco
Okay.
for 6, 7, 8 years. Mm-hmm. And I decided to go back east to kind of regroup with what remained of my family and see my parents who were aging and spend some time with them for the first time. And to pave the way, I got a job in a wine shop.
Okay.
And I tasted my first wine.
That's when you tasted your first wine
That was
in
when
the
I tasted my first wine.
Whoa.
It was in the wine shop that I
Okay.
worked in Centerville, Ohio.
Okay. And so did you have a training? Did they tell you that
No,
good
no,
wine,
I was
bad
basically
wine?
a cashier,
Yeah.
just a stock guy.
Yeah.
Anything that they needed to be done, man of all
Uh-huh.
hats. And it was very unchallenging. But it did pay, the bills while I was with my parents. And then I decided that I really liked this subject. I started reading on it.
Yeah.
And when you dive into the literature, it is fascinating. It is an enormous subject. You could spend your whole life studying the different viticultural areas of the world
Viticultural here in
and still not know it. You could spend your whole life, literally, because wine is grown everywhere. Grapevines are grown everywhere. They grew naturally. They were just there. And it was very important to the first people to have an alcoholic beverage. Alcoholic beverages have been one of man's first chosen
recreational
efforts since the dawn of time.
I thought they did the alcohol so the wine didn't go. I mean, the water was storable. That's what I thought wine was made for. What's that beer?
I don't know. Maybe
So-
you're talking German beers there, girl. But then Germany has a lot of wines too.
Yeah. So are you more interested in the actual wine, the kinds of wine, how they taste, if they're dry or whatever, or is it the culture, the regions where they're grown in? What is the...
Well, they go hand in hand. You know, the different regions support the different grapevines. Some better than others. Germany, of course, where you come from, they grow primarily Riesling.
Riesling, yeah.
It is a white wine that matures quickly because you have a short growing season. In Germany, they grow very little red
Right.
grapes at all.
The Riesling is very sweet. It's a sweet wine.
I'm sorry?
Riesling is very sweet. It's a sweet...
Yeah, most people refer to it as a off dry wine, but it does tend to the sweet side, and all of the remaining whites that are produced in Germany reflect that same kind of wine. It's Gewürztraminer is off dry,
Yeah, that one.
and if they do anything to enhance the value of a Riesling, they let it get old. They let it get older and sweeter.
Oh,
So you have wines that are... Germany is best known for its super sweet dessert wines.
yeah.
Those are the most valuable. A Trockenbeer and Auslese.
I was lazy, yeah.
Or they even allow the grapes to hang on the vine
After the frost.
until it starts getting cold. It's called ice wine.
Ice wine, yeah.
And it's very sweet. It's very sweet.
Ice wine, yeah. So if you were to rank the wines from the world, which one, how would you rank in? Of course, Germany would be first, but I mean, after that.
France,
Well, he
Give us the regions about-
reads my mind.
France. I'm
Of course, the two most important in my mind wine growing regions in the world are Bordeaux and Burgundy
in France.
in France.
Yeah. And if that's the case, aren't all grapes white underneath the peel? Or am I just going up under the skin?
That is correct. All grape juice is clear, or as we would call it, white.
Yeah.
And it's only the skins that use in the fermentation maturation process that give it its red color. But those skins also provide it with a lot of character. So anyway,
Are you more, so you're more a red wine fan? Or
I like it all.
You do like it all?
I really don't have a preference.
Depending on the temperature or what you're drinking?
Yeah, depending on what my feelings are, what I like, and of course what you're eating.
Right.
If you're going to have it with dinner,
yeah.
you don't want a big hearty red with fish. That kind of doesn't.
How
work.
grotesque is that?
Well, I mean, if you like red wine, you can drink it whenever you want.
Yeah, right.
I really don't have a preference. I love Chardonnay,
Which is white, right?
which is why. Yeah.
So if you were to, for a non-wine connoisseur, say this is what makes a red wine versus this is what makes a white wine, what would you say, besides the color, obviously?
I'm not sure what
The
the
big
question is.
difference between red and white wine.
Tannins? skins?
Chemically speaking? you
No,
mean?
you're the wine connoisseur. What makes a big difference? Why do you like one wine and what makes the difference in the wines?
Well, I just said I don't have a preference, so there is really no difference.
So so the difference of a red wine, if they're clear, the red color comes from the skins, right? Mm-hmm. What is
Yeah, so the most obvious example of that is the rosé, which is just a red that has been squeezed and is ready for fermentation, and they leave it on skins for a very short period of time. So it just has a little blush, as they call it.
So why would you do that? Is it just the color? It's not just the color, right?
No, the skins are a value added to a product, for sure. That's
Mix the taste.
the most expensive wines are red.
Uh-huh.
and they hold longer.
Well, yeah, sure.
So
they do.
what's the longest time a white can hold up in a bottle?
Well, it would depend on the producer, of course, but no white wine that is not sweet,
Oh, that's right.
a dry white,
Yeah.
can last anywhere. Will not last anywhere close to like a red wine.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about Domaine Romanée-Conti's Chardonnay, it's
Is that a super high?
Montrachet. We're talking about the sky's the limit prices, and those Chardonnays actually have been known to last 50 years.
Wow. A Chardonnay.
A Chardonnay lasts 50 years, but they build them that way.
You use that word a lot when we've talked wine in the past, and that's building. What do you mean by that? Building blocks of.
I don't know exactly what I mean by that.
Yeah.
It's just a common
It's just what you
phrase.
say.
It's just a common phrase.
What is bouquet all about?
Well, that's one of the lovely parts. Once you once you cork a bottle, if it's a pretty good wine, you want to let it breathe for a while, and that is to aerate the wine. Why would someone want to decant it?
Right.
Is to aerate
about
it
that.
even more quickly, and it is to allow that fragrance to mature quickly in the
air or in the wine
both.
itself?
It's a
Because you taste with your nose. It's part of your tasting sensation, the smelling part.
well, certainly, and the bouquet of a wine is one of the great pleasures of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
true.
why are the wines actually served in different kinds of glasses? If the bouquet is so important, why don't they all have the big round blob glass?
You're talking about a brandy snifter.
Yeah.
That would work. There's no reason why you couldn't use that.
But I mean, why are the white wine glasses are thinner than the red wine and they're shorter and long? Is this just something that somebody came up
It's just
with?
common service.
Okay, it doesn't really have a
It has no reason.
But the wine does taste different from a glass from, let's say, a McDonald's coffee cup. Seriously, I mean,
Yeah, so you don't want to drink wine out of a cardboard cup.
yeah, right.
Styrofoam, that just won't do.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, folks, we are already at that halfway mark of this week's edition of Doc and Jacques. You're tuned into KCIW 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon. We are proudly a non-commercial community radio station. And regardless if you sing, you do have a voice. And that's what community radio like KCIW does best. We are made up of local good folks just like you who care passionately about this lovely coastal village. If you have a penchant for community service, volunteering, and or joining the KCIW radio family, please get involved. You can serve, you could contribute, you could donate your time and money, no matter how small amounts, to an exemplary local nonprofit radio station like KCIW. You can find out more by going to our website at kciw.org. And Dr. Gigi and I, this is our 41st show, Doc.
Yes.
We are so happy we did it. You can too. come on, talk to us, contribute, get involved with your community radio station. It's a great family here. It truly is. It's a lot of fun. All right, we are talking with Chuck McCall, our friend. I keep saying my friend, but Doc and
He's
Jacques.
sharing now. He's our friend.
Doc and Chuck. See, it doesn't sound as good. Doc and Jacques is perfect, but Doc and Chuck, they have gotten to know each other real well, and they enjoy each other's company a lot. And every time we go to Chuck's house, he'll invariably open up a darn good bottle of wine, and we will sip and talk, take notes. So that's why he's in here today, to find out some of these things. Okay, Doc, lead off with another question. What do we got? We got about 20 minutes.
Well, we have more questions. So what are fortified wines?
Yeah, what is it?
Fortified wines are basically just a red wine that, I mean, if you want to go down to Mogan David.
Is that what MD 2020 is? Mogan David.
You know, Mad Dog 2020 is a fortified wine, but that's really not fair to the industry.
What? So fortified with what? With flavors?
With neutral spirits.
Yeah, they fortify it. They make it
alcohol.
More powerful alcohol?
Yeah, power.
20% like and up is, and there's some wine.
And they did that. I could explain why that first came into being. Is that it started in Portugal. And Portugal is a country that is
Red wine.
Port.
That's exactly where it came from. But it's a country that's subject to very hot weather.
Yeah?
Very hot. Very hot. And they found that when they tried to grow wine grapes, that the wine grapes were very flaccid and what they call fat, flabby.
Yeah.
They didn't have, they were not able to produce enough tannins in the skin to get a balance. What we like in red wine, a balance between the dryness and the fruit. Those two elements are absolutely critical, in my opinion, to producing a good red wine. So what they decided to do after years and years of trying to make red wine in Portugal, where it's too hot, they threw up their hands and said, you know, what do we do with this? Basically.
Mamma mia.
No.
And they started adding neutral spirits to the wine, and they found that it not only made them more potent and more appealing to some people.
Yeah.
They actually could mature
The tannins and
the spirit in the red wine would hold it and allow it to age. So once they learned that, the British, being entrepreneurial as they are, they jumped right in and they got involved. And now the British basically own the fortified wine industry in Portugal, and they saw what could be done. You can barrel age. If you want to talk about a length of time that a wine can last, fortified wines will last 3 times as long.
Wow.
They will last forever almost because of that.
So is port a fortified wine then? It's been
Yes.
Okay, so that's why even
strong, so
what was the one I used to like? The one in Napa Valley. There was a port I liked. It was Christian Brothers, and it was tawny port. You could buy it really reasonably.
That's
like
a
20%.
Bottom shelf.
Yeah, bottom shelf stuff. But it would, you could have one glass and you'd get that woo.
Yeah, they're generally around 19%.
19 or 20%, yeah.
Most red and white still wines will top out at 13.
So you can, that's a normal wine,
yeah,
right?
That's
so
a normal wine. That's a first-rate caliber.
So you can buy a 20% wine, and it's called fortified wine.
It's called port.
Port. Yeah.
That is the port wine then.
Porto.
Porto.
Porto,
Oh,
yeah.
Porto.
Sandeman. Sandeman is middle range.
Sandeman, another English Taylor flat gauge.
Oh, that's right. Taylor's is English too. Oh my god.
Yeah, the British run. They love their port.
Yeah,
Oh, they love their port.
Port's not. It's not bad. It's not.
Sherry is also a fortified product.
Oh, that's what it was. Oh, sherry. I think I mixed those two up. Are they similar, sherry and port wine?
Well, it's where they come from.
And it's a fortified. So
Sherry comes from an island off the coast of Spain and Portugal there.
Oh,
That's where they're primarily made.
interesting.
Wow. So now we know about fortified wines, and that I wonder if the stores can. I can't go to Freddie Meyer here and buy port at the grocery store. I have to go to a liquor store then. I think.
No, I don't think so.
No. So you can buy.
I've never looked, to tell you the truth. But I think you can get fortified wine. You can get port at
Okay. All right.
Freddy's has a fairly good selection of American wine, and there are port makers here in this country.
How does one become a collector, Chuck? I mean, you just start by drinking. I've always heard just drink what you like and enjoy what you drink.
Yeah, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, no matter.
A collector of wines?
What's a wine snob? A wine snob is a person that's going to try to influence you by their supposed knowledge of.
Well, I really don't like that that nomenclature myself.
Wine snob.
Would you snob at me when I tell you I like red wine blend?
Whatever, right?
Red wine blend.
Yeah, it's a blend.
Well, like Menage a Trois.
I like
the-
that.
One
That's
of
a
our
blend,
favorites.
yeah.
It's a red blend. So,
I'm unfamiliar with that term.
Oh,
well, I mean,
A blend.
yeah,
yeah.
it's just a
You
blend.
mean you
of-
blend it with ice or water?
No,
No,
blended
no.
with different grapes.
Red-
It's
red-
not one grape. It's different kinds, and then they blend it to taste, pretty much. As I know.
Well, no, I wouldn't object to that. I would. I'm a purist.
Yeah.
I've let that be known.
I want my Gallo just straight up, okay? All right. Don't mix
But
it.
if you want to get back to that subject, I mean, that's basically what winemakers do.
They blend.
Almost no red wine, for instance, is of a single varietal.
Really?
Almost none. There's
Little bit of
very
this,
few,
little bit of
and they're extremely valuable. Mouton Rothschild is one of the only right bank wines, left bank wines that is 100% Cabernet
The left bank of the Rhone.
of the Garonne.
Yeah.
Not the Rhone. Not the Rhone.
Not the Rhone,
The
the
Garonne.
One.
And well, again, like Petrus with the right bank wines is the only one that's 100% Merlot.
So Merlot is a base French wine.
But generally, those grapes, those varietals are blended.
Wow.
They're blended.
Interesting.
Every
They can-
house in France has its own blend.
But they could call it Merlot, but then they have their own little mixture that they.
Have to have
It
majority.
only has to have a certain percentage of Merlot to be called Merlot.
Well, in France, they don't label their wines by varietal.
Yeah.
They're labeled by
Red.
chateau.
Red
Right.
and
Everybody knows, the generally. Well, actually, nobody knows what their
Chateau
blends
Briand.
are. But in California, if you buy red wine that says it's Cabernet Sauvignon, it only legally has to be 75%.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a 75%.
Yeah, so they blend too. So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with the idea of blending different reds together because that's how wine is generally made.
Very interesting.
What does it take to become a collector? I mean, it's kind of a joke, tongue in cheek, but how much should you spend on a bottle? I like spending at least 20 minutes or so per bottle. But seriously, how much? I mean, you could
I
spend
spend longer than that.
I mean, seriously, you get the bottom of the stuff at let's say Freddy's here. You go to Franzia, is the box thing you get for $15, right? Which if you're going to mix,
Well,
if you're gonna
okay.
blend it with-
Seriously speaking, though, if you're going to collect wine,
yeah,
you don't collect even the medium shelf wines. They're not made to last.
they're not built right.
They're not built to last. If you're going to collect wine, you really need to spend some money.
But isn't that interpretive upon, let's say, a new vineyard that's out? Maybe they don't have the bones or the build, and they could offer something for relatively cheap. What is it?
Well, if it's a really new vineyard, you don't want to collect it for sure.
You don't want to collect
Right.
it. Right?
It's generally the vines are young and the grapes come out green,
Yeah.
tasting, and there's really nothing to say.
Are there any other things built into wines other than they could fortify them with other spirit? But do they add any other flavors? Or I guess the flavor of the barrel too, right? There's oak charred barrels. Those must add to the flavor.
Well, you would be a fool to try to manipulate that. They do it in France sometimes when the year has been cold, the growing season has been off.
So you put a different flavor in there?
No, you don't put a different flavor. You add sugar.
Sugar.
Really?
Oh, so for them to have it's the actually it's
Yes,
to,
yes. Especially
that-
with the whites and stuff.
How about champagne?
What is champagne all?
How does that fit in?
Do we know?
Well, it's not a still wine. It is.
But it's just a grape, champagne grape, right?
Champagne is just another growing area in France. It's they've litigated it in the United States to make sure that no sparkling wine and from the Napa Valley can be called champagne because it's a delineated legal growing area and they own the brand.
They have to call it
Oh,
sparkling wine.
They call it sparkling wine.
Okay.
Yes.
Even though they use the same grape, it's
They had
not
a fight over that because
wow.
the interlopers from
Very
California
Yeah.
were trampling on their feet, and they had to come in and spank them, and they did. They won, and anyway, that's another story. But champagne is made from one of two grapes or both.
Oh.
It's made from Chardonnay, or it's made from Pinot Noir.
Whoa.
I like sweeter champagne, so I'm going to go more towards a Pinot, I suppose, if I wanted a sweeter one, right?
It depends on how they make the wine. What you would, if you like the sweeter, well, actually they're not supposed to be sweet at all. But if you wanted to have one that is less dry, you would oddly enough buy it extra dry.
Right.
And what gives us
That doesn't make sense.
What
but,
gives
but
us-
that is the spectrum. When you get into Brut,
Yeah.
that's drier. Those are drier.
Brut dry.
And you'll generally find more Pinot Noir.
So we have had a couple of friends who had these wine cellar. One had a real wine cellar, and others had their wine fridge, I say, for no better word. How important is it for you being a connoisseur? It's certainly not important for me, I know, because I don't know the difference. But how much of a difference does it make?
what, storing it properly?
Yeah, storing it properly in that temperature.
Well, if you're planning to have that bottle to save as an investment or to hold for a period of time, you definitely want to keep it cool. You definitely want to have a cellar, but you don't have to have something extravagant. I mean, at my house,
Yeah.
I could just open one of those doors in the carport and crawl into the crawl space,
Right.
and that would be fine.
Yeah, so sometimes they have it even humidity.
That's only to keep the corks from drying out too much. You really don't need the humidity.
So if you're planning on saving a wine, let it mature in the bottle, you're always going to lay it on side. Is that right?
Of course.
So you always want the cork.
You need to have the cork stay moist.
Okay.
Yeah.
To
Cork.
expand in the neck.
Look what the cork industry has become. It's just a huge international thing, but they come up with synthetic cork now.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I don't know how that would. I doubt very seriously whether any first growth or premier cru of any kind in France would use a fake cork. I don't think they would ever do that. How well they work for a bottle of wine in general, I don't know. I think the jury's still out on that.
Wow. And then I know we just drank some Russell, upscale $30, $40 bottle out of Oregon here, and twist top. It's meant to be drunk, not to be saved. You want to drink it within a year or two of its bottling, and so why would you worry about a cork?
You really don't need a cork.
Yeah, you don't need a
You
cork,
don't
but
need
it's
a
just...
It doesn't add with the flavor, right?
And more producers of the mid-level wines just have gone to screw caps.
Yeah, which
There,
is really
there was a
strange,
huge
right?
blitz that went on about 10 years ago. A producer in the Napa Valley came out with a wine called Screw Kappa Napa.
Screw Kappa Napa. Wow.
And it was a total blunder. They lost their shirts,
Oh, no.
Wow.
but at least they tried.
What is the best wine you've ever had to taste?
Well, there are a whole lot of wines I would love to taste.
Well, which one?
I like the way he said it. You hear how he said love? Just,
Once you get into it, it's never ending. I mean, they're just it's. I've told Jack the story about the Nuit Saint George. I tasted the Burgundy one time. It tasted like the color black.
wow.
It was like you could taste the
Mesita.
color black.
Velvet.
The best wine I ever have tasted was actually a Côte from the Rhone Valley. And it was a Braun and Blue, Braun and Brun and Blonde. It was a blend from
Some winery in France. But
it was a Côte. That much I can do remember. I don't remember the producer. It was absolutely.
But I like the way you see his face when you have tasted an incredible wine. I mean, they tend to be expensive wines. You are in the business, so you can afford. You would get tasted.
I couldn't necessarily afford.
But there
I
is
would have liked
something
to.
about a wine that when you taste an incredibly aged. And
Yeah, once you taste
nothing like
say that first growth or a Premier Cru Burgundy or something that's been perfectly aged, you know why people will sing their praises.
What's the future of wine? We are an incredibly big growing spurt worldwide. Maybe with climate change, people have said there's more places opening up that didn't grow wine in the past. Is it gonna...
Well, it's funny you should ask that because right now the wine industry is almost it's having a hard time. It's having a hard time
internationally?
Well, especially here in the States. I if you're talking about the great wines of France, there will always be demand for those. But even in France, they've gotten to the point where they're producing too much, and the French government steps in and buys these like that wine we tasted the other day, that
The male,
the
Maison.
Bordeaux,
yes.
the lesser, the Cru Bourgeois, and they make wine in the Midi, they make wine all the way to the Pyrenees and the south. France is one big vineyard, as is Italy.
Yeah.
They're both out that way, but there's too much wine.
Well,
Is the
French
subject,
would-
and in America, it's almost becoming critical now. Guys are uprooting their vineyards to plant something else.
Whoa.
There's
Hey, Ohio has vineyards, right?
yes, they do.
I mean, Missouri does.
So
too.
what takes its place then? What takes its place? In France, when I was there, they drank wine. I mean, it's like a bottle
Oh,
of
you
wine.
start
It was-
drinking wine when you're a kid.
Yeah,
in
you just
France.
drink it with food, with your meal.
You
With
have it every day.
But what
Every
do you
day.
have it? What replaced it here in the States? As you say, they have a.
Oh, for those people who drink wine, nothing has replaced it.
Okay.
But the younger
just have fun.
people now are just really not interested.
No
Yeah, I have
kidding.
a question about
They're
your.
not. They're not interested.
When you said,
Millennials and all of them, they're not. They didn't buy into it. It's something that's just not part of their culture.
when you said the best wine just takes you back and you have tasted the best wine, is it an acquired taste? Because I feel like the more wine I drink, the faster I get. I can't drink more than a glass.
The faster you get,
The faster, yeah.
you mean running?
The more I've been drinking wine, the more I get saturated with a wine with just one glass. I don't have to drink 2 glasses saying, I don't like the taste anymore. It's like it's less and less where I say, I'm done
Well,
with
you
the
may
taste.
not be a wine drinker.
So, but I haven't had the best wine.
I never thought about this new generation.
It doesn't matter if you don't care for the product to begin with. I mean, it doesn't matter how good it is.
So the millennials may not be supportive of this.
They're definitely not. They're definitely not.
Oh, never thought about this.
Yeah, there's really heated competition to get shelf space now. It's just people are fighting. they're dueling in the streets.
Wow, I always cook with wine. In fact, sometimes I even add it to the food. But I mean, cooking is a big part of wine use, right? Too. I mean, there's a lot of people.
A lot of recipes call for a white wine, especially, but red wine too.
Yeah, I add it to a lot of food on a regular basis. Even if
it's yummy.
Why not cheaper wine? I don't care.
Right, it cooks out.
Any more questions for Chuck McCall on our Talking Wine here on KCIW on a beautiful, hot Brookings day?
Where do you see yourself in 2 to 5 years in the wine, referring to the wine? You're going to go to the garden.
Well, I will keep drinking it.
You
have aspiring of something or other that you will go to?
No, I'm not going to get back in the business. I'm retired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to travel to France one day?
I would love to. Yeah. Oh, I would love to. I would love to go to Dijon and spend 3 months.
For the mustard?
Dijon mustard, that's true. Hey, I'm telling you, in Germany, it was nothing but vineyards, too. We saw, everywhere we were.
The Europeans, they know what's up.
And they've been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years without any disruption.
Actually, I was gonna get into the history. Do we have any time?
Hey, you got a couple minutes.
The oldest, you gave me a list of grapes.
Yeah.
The oldest is actually the wine that I tasted, the Côte Rôtie, which is made of Syrah. And Syrah, they have identified that. They found that the pedigree of Syrah goes all the way back to Persia. They were making wine from the Syrah grape in Persia during its heyday, and that would lead one to believe that it was in the fertile
Crescent Valley.
Yes.
All right.
Of the Middle East that long ago.
6,000 years is kind of what I've heard floated out there, that there's evidence that there was vine.
Yes, well, it's
Think about the grape. It's a portable seed carrying thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And all you have to do is throw it in a vat, stomp on it, and let it sit. Stir it every now and then, and you get wine.
Yeah.
It's about as easy as it gets. The other thing I wanted to tell you, just for the interesting aspect for the drinking public, people who love wine, is Zinfandel.
Okay, tell us about Zen.
As opposed to Syrah. No one, as far as I know, in the world, knows where Zinfandel comes from.
Huh.
Really?
It's a total mystery grape.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, as long as I've been watching it, no one has come up with a solution to that mystery. Its pedigree is absolutely unknown.
They should do the genetics.
Where it comes from.
23andMe?
Yeah, 20.
I think they have.
Yeah, and they
still can't identify where it originated.
Dang.
Nectar of the gods.
But here's the really interesting thing.
Yeah.
It was discovered here in California. No one knew where it was not grown anywhere else until some adventurous folks in the viticultural world came across these old vineyards in the hills east of the Salinas Valley. East of the Salinas Valley, not far from Pinnacles National Monument.
Okay.
And they just stumbled on them, and here were these vines that were 6-8 inches thick in diameter.
Whoa.
And they were still alive, but they were totally overgrown with weeds and everything. And these guys, whenever that was, I'm not sure exactly. I think it was back in the 70s. they rejuvenated those vines, and they started producing grapes again.
Wow.
And it was determined that these vines, these particular vines, were well over 100 years old.
Wow.
So they were planted by some explorer who got lost in the mists of time, and no one knows why.
Zinfandel.
Nice.
It's of all the wines, it has the strongest cult following. People who love Zen.
Wow.
They love.
It's kind of a rosé. It's always
It's red or wine.
No. You can get a big, huge.
Franzia box Zen.
I don't think they do Zinfandel.
All right. We are out of time. Chuck McCall, thank you. This has been fun.
Whoa.
What a trip and I hope you will listen to your voice, as all of us can listen to his voice and this show again by tuning into KCIW.org and going to past shows, going down Doc and Jacques, and there you'll find it. It'll be loaded right after the show. All right, Doc, what do we got? Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
What do we got for jokes or quotes?
What? No, first we say, Fun time corner.
Okay. What do you got? Give me a good
All right,
quote.
I have a quote for you. Age is just a number. It's totally irrelevant unless, of course, you happen to be a bottle of wine.
Who wrote that?
Joan Collins.
Not bad.
Right?
Not bad. Okay, give me another one.
Wine is sunlight held together by water.
Wine is sunlight held together by water? I like it. Wow. Okay. I found out that wine does not make you fat. In fact, it makes you lean against walls, tables, chairs, and weird people.
Chuck, you were supposed to laugh.
What's the definition of a... Well, you go ahead. Give me another quote.
No, you go with the joke.
Okay. I finally quit drinking wine for good.
Oh, good.
Now I drink it for evil. I used to think that wine was bad for me.
Yeah.
So I gave up thinking. All right, give us another quote.
Good company, good wine, a good welcome can make good people.
Okay, yeah. That's
William
true.
Shakespeare, so that's why it's
Well,
important.
not bad. We're talking about bouquet.
Yeah.
Some people pick their nose.
Yeah.
I was born with mine. Why do cows?
Boy, that's a jet.
Why do cows wear bells?
Why?
Because their horns don't work. So dumb. These are Virginis. Why do Olympic runners eat before a race?
Why?
Nothing. They fast.
Oh, what?
Okay.
Okay.
Take over.
All right. In wine, there's truth, but in silence, there's peace. In friendship, there's both.
Wow. Nice. Okay, give us another one.
The best blend is wine and good friends. Ernest Hemingway.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about where was King David's temple located? Just above his ear. All right. This one is from me. This one I made up. A culinary feast without good wine is like drizzling motor oil on a lobster tail.
Nice.
I came up with
It's
that
not-
this morning.
It's a quote. It's not.
That's
a
my
joke.
quote for you.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
my joke. Okay.
All right. One more quote. Wine gets better with age. I get better with wine. Joan Collins again.
Wow. How about wine doesn't make me slur my words? It just makes me speak in cursive. All right. Finally got a laugh, everybody. Are we about done, Doc?
We're just about done.
It's been fun. Chuck,
It's been
thanks for coming
fun.
in and illuminating us about
pleasure.
the vines.
Yeah, so thank you for listening to this week's live radio variety show. You have been listening to Doc and Jacques on KCIWLP 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon. We hope you have enjoyed the show. Jacques and I certainly have loved talking with our guest and friend, Chuck McCall.
We want to thank Tom Bozak and Ray Simon for their engineering wizardry in the KCIW studio. And listen, if you have anybody you want to be on the show, reach out to me on Facebook, Jacques Kepner, Kepner. That's it. All right.
Okay, goodbye.
Peace and love.